The silent stranger. The diner lights buzzed against the silence of a small town night. Out on Route 66, nothing much happened after 9 p.m. except the occasional trucker stopping in for coffee, or locals passing time before heading home. But on that cold November evening, something shifted the air inside Marty's diner. He walked in without a sound. A tall man, wrapped in a worn-out coat, his face hidden beneath a shadowed brim. His boots were caked with dust, his eyes unreadable, and though he made no effort to speak, his presence silenced the room more than any shout could. People stared, then looked away quickly like they had glanced at something they shouldn't. He slid into a booth at the far corner, his back to the wall, eyes toward the door. He ordered nothing. He didn't need to. The air grew heavier just because he was there. Marty, the owner, wiped the counter and whispered to a waitress, "Don't bother him. Some folks carry storms inside. Best not to open the window." But not everyone could resist curiosity. One, the waitress. Emily had been working double shifts for weeks. A single mom, barely holding her life together, she had learned to notice people really notice them. The silent stranger's hands were scarred. Old burns, deep cuts, a story written in wounds. She placed a cup of coffee at his table without asking. He looked up, just once. His eyes were cold, but not cruel like a man who had seen too much and survived too little. "On the house," Emily whispered, her voice trembling without reason. The stranger gave a slight nod. "No thank you." No words. But in that nod, Emily felt something she couldn't name, gratitude laced with grief. "To the sheriff." Sheriff Don Harlan pushed open the door a half-hour later. Stocky, aging, and worn down by small-town boredom, he immediately noticed the stranger. In a place where everybody knew everybody, silence was suspicious. "Evening, folks," Don said, tipping his hat before eyeing the man in the booth. "Coffee," he told Marty, then leaned close. "Who's he?" Marty shrugged. "Came in quiet, been quiet ever since." "And done a thing?" "Not yet," Don muttered. He walked to the booth. "You passing through, friend?" The stranger looked at him. Just looked. The sheriff felt an unease he hadn't felt since his army days. "Word of advice," Don said, forcing a smile. "Strangers don't sit long in a place like this. Folks start asking questions." The man didn't answer. Didn't move. Didn't blink. And somehow, that silence was louder than any threat. 3. The drifter's shadow. By midnight, the diner was nearly empty. Only Emily, Marty, and Sheriff Don remained. The stranger sat still, his coffee untouched, when headlights slashed across the window. 3 men walked in. Leather jackets, cigarettes hanging from lips, the kind of men who carried trouble like perfume. They scanned the room, then froze when they saw the silent stranger. The tallest one, Vince, spat his gum onto the floor. "Well, look who crawled out of hell." The room stiffened. Emily's breath caught. Sheriff Don's hand inched toward his holster. "You got some nerve showing your face here," Vince sneered. "After what you did." The stranger remained motionless. Silent. Vince slammed his fist on the table. "Say something, damn it." The stranger's eyes finally lifted. Calm. Cold. And for a second, Vince stepped back like he'd remembered a nightmare he thought was gone. "For the truth in pieces." Sheriff Don barked, "Enough." "What's going on here?" Vince pointed at the silent man. You don't know who this is, he and some drifter. He Daniel Reed. Used to run with us back in Chicago. Till the fire. Emily's hands trembled. Fire. Whole warehouse went up in flames. People inside. Innocent people. We thought he died that night. Guess not. All eyes turned toward the stranger Daniel Reed. Sheriff Don's voice hardened. That true? Silence. Only silence. But the way Daniel's jaw tightened, the way his hands curled, it was all the answer they needed. 5. The choice. Vince leaned close, grinning. He's a murderer, Sheriff. You ought to lock him up or hand him to us. We've got unfinished business. Daniel's eyes flicked toward Emily, just once. She saw it: pain, guilt, something breaking behind the silence. Her voice cracked. Did you really kill them? Daniel finally moved. Slowly, he pulled something from his coat pocket and placed it on the table. Not a weapon. A small, scorched photograph: 3 children, smiling in front of a Christmas tree. Emily's throat tightened. Daniel whispered his first words all night. Hoarse, raw, like each syllable cost him blood. They were mine. The diner went still. They locked me in. I couldn't get them out. His voice broke. I lived. They didn't. His silence had been grief. Not guilt. Survival was his punishment. 6. The ending nobody expected. Sheriff Don's hand left his holster. For the first time, he saw not a threat but a broken man. Vince sneered, but his bravado cracked. He's lying. Daniel rose slowly, towering over the men. His voice, though soft, carried steel. You left them. You lit the fire. I carried the blame. But you— he stepped closer, eyes locked on Vince. You carry the truth. Vince staggered back. For once, silence belonged to him. Sheriff Don's voice thundered. Enough. You boys leave now, before I decide to dig deeper. The men cursed under their breath but left, the door slamming behind them. Daniel stood there, shoulders heavy, photograph clutched in his hand. He didn't look at anyone. Didn't explain. He just walked out into the cold night, swallowed by the darkness. Epilogue. Weeks later, the sheriff tried to trace him. Nothing. No name in records, no tracks beyond that night. Emily often wondered where he had gone. Sometimes, when she poured coffee into an empty cup, she remembered his silence not as menace, but as mourning. In a town where everyone talked too much, the stranger had spoken only a handful of words. Yet those words stayed forever. They were mine. And that silence told the rest.